that artificial intelligence lacks an unconscious, therefore intelligence, you suddenly realise why AI will never be able to write great literature. So, a lot of people have been talking about writers are going to be out of a job. Now, here's the thing. As I said, as a writer of literary fiction, but this is the case with all writers, I write textually. I write understanding language as a text. Now, here's the thing. As a post-structuralist, I think everyone does, because there's no other way of doing it. If you start writing and you've written your first paragraph, a few years down the line, or a few months or a few weeks, depending on how fast you write, you're going to be writing something, you know, that's like 50, 60 pages away, that still connects to it, and there's all stuff going on in between. But here's what distinguishes humans from AI. We have an unconscious, which by definition, we're not conscious of it. It behaves for us, it acts for us, it does things for us, it says things for us, it behaves for us. It is part of us. This is why a lot of people don't like seeing themselves in photos, don't like seeing themselves on video, and don't like hearing themselves on recordings. Because it doesn't feel like them, doesn't sound like them, doesn't look like them. Because they're not getting their unconscious. Now, when you do a bit of writing, your unconscious is putting stuff in that as well. It's you're writing textual ideas that are linking up in different, I don't like layers and levels really, because that suggests that there's some up here and some down here, and it's not really like that. But some of my short stories, for instance, and some of my novel, when I read it back, links and connections have been made that I didn't intend. Like, no spoiler alert, but my novel taught me something about the story I'm telling, which is the opposite of what I thought the story was. That's a fact. You know, I knew what the story was. Bloke does this, this happens, this happens, this happens, roughly. There's loads of little stories in between. It's a picaresque. Right, I get that. Better get right in it. Brrr. But when I'd actually written it, it was the exact opposite. What motivated me, the outcome. And that wasn't a conscious decision. My conscious decision was to write a story about this, this, and this, and this, and this. And countless more, but, you know, we'll consider them like meta stories, and within them, you know, micro stories. But my unconscious got busy. My unconscious started putting other things in. And so when I read it back, like I've told you this before, there is a thread of Apocalypse Now that runs through my novel. And when I realised that, and I'm not joking, it's like the story of Apocalypse Now runs through my novel. When I read it, and it took about the fourth draft till I realised, I was thinking, hang on a minute. This is that bit and that scene. This is that bit. This is that bit. This is depersonalization. This is depersonalization of the enemy. This is the bit when the Playboy birds arrive. This is that bit. And once I'd seen that my unconscious had done that, I started adding to it consciously. There are direct quotes from Willard in my novel. And the character who the novel's about says them. Willard doesn't say them. Willard's not in my novel. But I just use his words because my unconscious gave me that material. I worked on it, and I sort of built upon it. And it's not just that one example I gave you. There's countless. And even if you don't write like that, you cannot prevent your unconscious from threading those things into a text. People don't make decisions to write whatever they're writing about. If they're writing about crime, if they're writing about fantasy, if they're writing about children's stories, whatever, it's never purely conscious, because as humans we are never totally conscious. And that comment that AI lacks artifice, ergo intelligence, while not strictly true, if we change artifice to unconscious, which has got some kind of textual relationship with the artificial, but artificial intelligence lacks an unconscious, therefore intelligence, you suddenly realise why AI will never be able to write great literature. It will never be able to write stories of worth, essentially because it doesn't have an unconscious. That's the interesting part of any book. Sweet, sweet.